now that you've done the major scale worksheets, the minor or Dorian worksheets are essentially the same, except that instead of using the pattern of whole steps and half steps for the major scales, you'll use it for the Dorian or minor scale here. So I just want to clarify, I've talked about how the Dorian is a kind of a minor mode. There are a few different modes that I would say you could think of as minor modes. There are two that are used in Irish music. One is the Dorian, and the other is what's called the natural minor or Aeolian. The Dorian is far, far more common. There aren't many tunes that would be, strictly speaking, in the natural minor mode in Irish music. There are a lot of tunes because the difference between the Dorian and the natural minor is just one pitch, and it's a pitch that typically isn't a really fundamental pitch used in any particular tune. Once in a while it's more prominent, but usually it's not a very prominent pitch. So, in a lot of tunes, sometimes it's where it would be for the Dorian, and sometimes it's where it would be for the natural minor. And typically it's not one that really sticks out much anyway, so the difference between the two is kind of negligible. But strictly speaking, the bulk of Irish tunes that are in a minor key are all or mostly in the Dorian mode. So here on this worksheet, I identified it as minor and Dorian. And, in Irish music, some people will use one terminology, some people will use another. So some people might call these tunes minor, others might refer to them as Dorian. So it's good to know both, I guess. And as I said, it's the mode that you can get if you use D as your tonic and use just the white keys from the piano. So we can go back to the sheet that you originally did, where you just did all the white key scales and looked at the pattern of whole steps and half steps there. And this is the one. This is Leah's worksheet for that also. And she starts, it starts on a D and ends on a D. It uses just the white keys, and it creates the pattern of whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, half step, whole step, going up. So that is the pattern up here at the top of each one of these scale sheets here. Whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, half step, whole step. So we're going to start, I'm just going to do one because, as I said, it's just the same as the major scale sheets. It's just that the pattern is a little bit different. So, again, the first thing we're going to do is write in this pattern here. So we'll go up a whole step to 2, and then a half step to 3, whole step to 4, whole step to 5, whole step to 6, a half step to 7, and then a whole step up to 1 again. And now, so this starts on A, so we'll write in the letters in order: A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A. And all the rules, or guidelines, if you will, are the same as for the major. So you have to use each letter, you have to use them in order. You cannot skip any letters, you cannot have any letters go twice in a row. You'll have the same letter at the beginning and the end, but in between, they all have to go in order without skipping any, without doing any twice in a row. And you have just the same thing, if in a situation where you would have an option, two different options to begin with. I've given you 2 lines, so you can try them both out. And in those cases, the way that uses the least accidentals is the way to go. That would be the one that you use. And there will be one case where it'll be the same either way. It'll be, it'll have, one will have 6 sharps and one will have 6 flats. And it'll be a different pair of keys than it was in the major, but you will have one key where you could do it with either sharps or flats, and it'll be the same either way, just as you did with the major. So anyway, so now we'll look here. So we have A, yep, 1 is A, 2 has to be B, so B natural, 3 has to be C, so that would be C natural, 4 has to be D, that would be D natural, 5 has to be an E, so that's E natural, 6 has to be an F, so in this case that's an F sharp, so we'll put the sharp in there. 7 has to be a G, that's a G natural. And again, the 1 has to be an A. So what we have here, this is A, and I'm going to write in Dorian here rather than minor, just to be more specific, because there are a few different kinds of minor scales. So A Dorian, sharps or flats, it just has F sharp. And again, we now copy this down here. The scale degrees are 1, up a whole step to 2, up a half step to 3, up a whole step to 4, up a whole step to 5, up a whole step to 6, up a half step to 7, and up a whole step again to 1. And the pitches here are A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G, and A. And so now down here, the tonic, which is A to the second scale degree, which is B, A to B, is 1, 2 half steps. The tonic A to the third scale degree, C, A up to C, is 1, 2, 3 half steps. The tonic A to the fourth scale degree, D, A up to D, is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 half steps. Tonic A up to the fifth scale degree, E, A up to E, tonic to the fifth scale degree is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 half steps. The tonic A to the sixth scale degree, F sharp, A up to F sharp, and that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 half steps. The tonic A up to the seventh scale degree, G, A up to G, and that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 half steps. And then tonic A up to the upper tonic, an octave higher, to the next A, is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 half steps. So that is that's the Dorian. So you can see that this pattern is a little bit different. These relationships, some of them are the same, some of them are different. This pattern and these relationships, of course, are going to be the same for all the Dorian scales, because that is what makes them Dorian. So just as in the major, these relationships remain the same, even though the pitches changed for each one. In the Dorian, these relationships will stay the same, but the pitches will change for each one. And again, just as with the major, you have to have each letter one time, well, the same letter, the tonic at the beginning and at the end, but in between, each letter one time in order. You can't skip any letters, you can't have any letters twice in a row. And you just line them up with the pitch above the scale degree that you've written in there. So if you've gone through all the majors, you should have no trouble with this. And then when you've completed all of your Dorian mode worksheets, again, you'll have the two pages at the end here, where you organize them, and again, in order of ascending number of sharps or ascending number of flats. Both of these start with 0 flats, 0 sharps, which in this case, because the one that you can do using only the white keys will be D, so they'll both start with D, Dorian there. And then the last one will be, again, as with the major, the same key spelled two different ways, spelled one way with sharps and one way with flats. But I'll let you figure out which one that is by going through the scale sheets. When you come to that one where you can do it both ways, just print off an extra sheet and write it out once each way, just as you did with the sharps, or just as you did with the major scales. So, and then, you'll just copy the pitches, copy the name of the key, copy the sharps and or flats here, and then when you're done, you'll discover that the same kind of pattern emerges. This will have one sharp. This key will have the same sharp as this key plus an additional one. This key will have the same 2 sharps as this key plus an additional 1. This key will have the same 3 sharps as this key plus an additional 1. So once you've copied all this, then write in the key signature using the same pattern of having the accidentals in the order that they sort of emerge. Like for this one, you'd start with this one, writing in the sharp there. For this one, you'd write in that sharp and then the additional sharp. For this one, you can write in the 2 sharps from here and then the additional sharp there, and so on, just like with the major keys. So that should be pretty straightforward for you. But now getting back to this, of course, after you've completed each one of these worksheets, you need to go to the piano or whatever keyboard you're using and do your playing and singing exercises. So that's what we'll do now. All right, so here we are at the keyboard, and these are going to be the same as the exercises you did with the major scales too. But I'm going to just do this. So the notes here, the pitches for this key, A minor or A Dorian, I'm just going to refer to them as Dorian from here on in, just to be more precise. Bearing in mind that the Dorian is a kind of minor key, and often tunes in these keys in the Dorian key will be just called minor tunes, depending on who you're talking to and what terminology they like to use. But I'm going to call these Dorian because they are, strictly speaking, Dorian. So A Dorian here, the pitches are A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G, A. And I'm just going to play that one time for you so that you can get a sense of what it sounds like. So we have. But now we'll just sing it one time, up and down, using the names of the pitches. So we have A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G, A, G, F sharp, E, D, C, B, and now one time, using the numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And now we'll do the intervals here, and we'll do them using both the letter names and the numbers, and then play them together. So we have A, B, A, 1, 2, 1. A, C, A, 1, 3, 1. A, D, A, 1, 4, 1. A, E, A, 1, 5, 1. A, F sharp, A, 1, 6, 1. A, G, A, 1, 7, 1. A, 1, 1, 1. So that is the end of the singing and playing exercises for these, just as it was with the major. I want to say one more thing. I don't know if this is necessary or not, but I know people who maybe have studied music in other traditions, like classical music, are used to hearing major scales and the minor scales that are used in the classical tradition and used to playing those as exercises. And the Dorian is a kind of minor scale that does not really get used as an exercise in the classical music tradition. So sometimes when people hear this just done as a scale like that, it does sound a little weird or wrong to them, and they're like, can that be right? But I'm going to show you, and I'm going to I'm going to go down to the 7 below this too. 1, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So using just those notes, I'm going to play one of the tunes that we originally did in D to demonstrate the Dorian mode. This is the swallowtail jig. So I'm going to do this now in A using these notes. And the swallowtail also does go down to the 7 below this too at one point. So that's why I did that. So. And again. So the tune, if you're used to hearing Irish music, the tune sounds like a perfectly normal, obvious Irish tune. It's just that, people don't play these modes as scales. In Irish music, people don't sit around practicing scales nearly as much as they do in classical music. So it might be a little bit of an unfamiliar thing in that context of just playing it as a scale, but it's a very familiar mode to people who who love Irish music. So anyway, that is the Dorian mode, and that is your singing and playing exercise, just the same as it was for the majors. So do that for each worksheet one time. So go through all these worksheets, do all the worksheets, do the singing and playing for each worksheet, and then organize them on the sheets, the sharp keys and the flat key sheets. And then you're done with lesson 9.